Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Herwire. I am the owner of Herwire Financial Plans with Direction. Today is October 7th of 2022. After the market roundup, we are going to be talking about annuities. But first, some disclosures. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only, not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All the data herein is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no representation is made as to its completeness or accuracy. None of this is to be construed as tax or legal advice. I'm neither an accountant nor an attorney, so I'm not qualified. Consult your advisor prior to taking any action. Since we're going to be talking about an insurance product, another page of disclosures. This material contains only general descriptions, not a solicitation to sell any insurance product or security, nor is it intended as financial or tax advice. For information about specific insurance needs or situations, contact your insurance agent. This article is intended to assist in educating you about insurance generally and not to provide personal service. They may not take into account your personal characteristics such as budgets, asset risk tolerance, family situation, or activities which may affect the type of insurance that would be right for you. In addition, state insurance laws and insurance underwriting rules may affect available coverage and its costs. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. If you need more information or would like personal advice, you should consult an insurance professional. You may also visit your state's insurance department for more information. Riders are additional guarantee options that are available to an annuity or life insurance contract holder. While some riders are part of an existing contract, many others carry additional fees, charges, and restrictions, and the policyholder should review their contract carefully before purchasing. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Fixed and variable annuities are suitable for long-term investing, such as retirement investing. Gains from tax-deferred investments are taxable as ordinary income upon withdrawal. Gains are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals made prior to age 59 and a half are subject to a 10% IRS tax penalty, and surrender charges may apply. Then that's over and above the IRS penalty. Variable annuities are subject to market risk and may lose value. So let's do the roundup. Last night's numbers. Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 29,926.94. Year to date, it's down 17.64%. The S&P 500 closed at 3,744.52. Year to date, it's down 21.43%. The NASDAQ 100 closed at 11,485.504. Year to date, it's down 29.62%. Gold closed at $1,829.05 per ounce. Year to date, it's down 6.54%. The Bitcoin index peaking above 20,000 for the first time in a few weeks. It's at 20,019.63, down year to date 58.21%. US dollar index closed at 112.26. Year to date, it is up 17.34%. 10-year Treasury closed at a yield of 3.84%. Year to date, it's up 2.33% from its start of the year at 1.51%. The S&P Aggregate Bond Index, and for you folks that work in quarries, we're not talking about that kind of aggregate. It closed at 192.2. Year to date, it's down 13.35%. Okay, let's talk about annuities. This time of market turbulence, people are sometimes looking for things with guarantees. Annuities sometimes do have guarantees, and I'll talk about more about that a little later. There are a few basic types. There are fixed annuities, there are variable annuities, and there are a few other varieties, but I won't be talking about them. I'll mostly be focused on fixed and variable annuities. Characteristics of annuities. It's an insurance company product. In order to get one of these things, you almost always have to do business with an insurance company. Because it's an insurance company, the individual states where the contract's being sold, they govern these products. They set most of the rules. However, if it's a variable annuity, something that can go up and down with the stock market, FINRA and the SEC may have additional oversight. Anyone helping you sign up for an annuity should at minimum have an insurance license in the state that you reside. And if there's a variable component, they also need to be securities registered. As I mentioned before, annuities frequently, not always, have guarantees. The guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. An individual contract will almost always be issued. And if you go try taking your money out in too quick a time, you may find yourself subject to surrender charges, and these are substantial. Hence the reason we say these are long-term investments. Okay, there are some tax benefits that are associated with annuities, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, most contracts have differences, even when they're issued by the same company. That's why it's really important to have your contract and review it before you put your money in. Let's talk about the fixed annuities first. The plain vanilla variety is known as a single premium immediate annuity. A retiree pension is the most commonly recognized example of this. The way to view a SPIA is you hand a bag of money to the insurance company and they say, hey, we will send you income for the rest of your life, whether it's 6 months or 60 years. The younger you are, the smaller that annual amount is going to be. The older you are, the more it's going to be, generally speaking. You can set this up for life only, which means the income lasts as long as you do, and that'll generally give you the highest payment of any of them per year. There's a thing called life with period certain. It will not be on the quiz later, but just to explain what that is, that means the insurance company will keep paying as long as you're alive. And if you happen to die early before the period is up, they'll continue to pay for the rest of that period. So those periods are usually 10 or 20 years. So if you get one of these with a life with period certain, then as long as you're alive, they'll pay you, but say you die 5 years in, well, they'll pay your heirs for 5 years after that in this hypothetical example. There's also something called joint life. Usually husband and wife get one that's a joint life, and the annuity will pay out as long as at least one of them is alive. Okay, these are immediate annuities. The other common variety of a fixed annuity is what's called a deferred annuity. They act a lot like bank CDs. However, they are not bank CDs. They don't have FDIC insurance. Unlike bank CDs, which do have a surrender charge if you end up bailing out of them before the time is up, not as substantial as an annuities. So, Steve, why on earth would anybody get one of these? Well, the insurance companies would like to get the money out of the banks, so they sometimes will offer a higher interest rate than the bank will offer. Also, there is tax deferral. When you get that interest statement every January or early February from the bank on how much interest you earned on your CDs, you got to pay taxes on that right away, whereas with an annuity, you do not. Okay, variable annuities. Variable annuity may or may not have a guarantee attached. They have invested vehicles, usually called sub-accounts, within. Sub-accounts act a lot like mutual funds, but they're not mutual funds. The account value will fluctuate on a daily basis. And like most other investments, you can lose money in a variable annuity. Okay, why on earth should you maybe consider a variable annuity for your portfolio? Well, number one, you have the tax deferral. Number two, you may possibly get one with an income guarantee rider. Number three, you may have access to investments that are not available unless you have larger amounts of money. I'll give you a hypothetical, or I should say, mythical example. Suppose the ABC Growth Fund is just going great guns. It's doing terrific, and they've decided that they're only going to take money from people that'll give them $1 million or more. Well, most people won't have $1 million lying around to invest in it, but you still want to invest in it. Well, if the annuity company has approached ABC and said, hey, we'll bring a bunch of our clients in here, you can be on our platform. Well, in that case, you get into this under the umbrella of the annuity without having $1 million. They also sometimes have principal guarantees. Now, principal guarantee, and this is a very broad explanation, check your contract always. But with the principal guarantees, if you say hypothetically put in $100,000 into something that has a principal guarantee, and you stay in there for a long period of time, it's, one example I remember is 7 years. So if the market is way down at the end of 7 years, they'll give you your entire $100,000 back if you're at a lower number. If you're at a higher number, you can cash it out and get the higher number. Okay, but for the income and principal guarantees, you have to follow the rules of the contract. With the withdrawal guarantees or the income guarantees, there's a maximum amount you can pull out every year. There may be age bands. If you're older, you might have the privilege of withdrawing more. And there's possible investment restrictions. They may have a few dozen options of where you can invest your money, but if you have the income or principal guarantee rider on it, they might say, okay, we don't want you putting all your money into the high risk sub account that we have. You've got to invest it according to these rules. Again, check your individual contract. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your contract will govern how this works. Okay, disadvantages to variable annuities, potential disadvantages, that is, high internal fees. Remember before when we were talking about the mythical ABC Growth Fund? Well, suppose you and your twin brother both invested in that. He invested in it in a mutual fund as part of a mutual fund. You invested as part of a variable annuity with some sort of guarantee attached. Okay, all things being equal, except for annuity versus mutual fund, his is likely to grow faster than yours because you have more expenses than his does. But when he starts drawing money out, when the account's empty, he doesn't get any more paychecks. With an income guarantee, if you followed all the rules of the road, if your variable annuity, if the tank goes dry, then in that event, you keep getting a check. Again, check your contract. This is a possibility, but it costs money. They don't do this for free. There are surrender charges with your twin brother. Unless he's got a certain kind of mutual fund share, he will be able to pull the money out and not pay any penalty. The first few years of most annuities, you pay surrender charges. I've seen the surrender periods be 3 to as much as I've seen some that were 10 years. In other words, if you go to pull more than a certain amount out, you pay a surrender charge. They're relatively illiquid for this discussion because you can't just get all your money out, especially early on. And as we mentioned before, with a variable annuity, just like a fixed annuity, if you go pulling the money out before you turn 59 and a half, it's very likely you'll be paying an IRS tax penalty. A few final thoughts about annuities. An annuity may or may not fit into your portfolio. It's not a one size fits all. Some people it's suitable for, some people it's not. Key thing to do before purchasing one is decide what your goal for the money invested is. If you're going to be using it for the down payment on a house in a couple of years, almost certainly this is not the place to go. Check with your advisor, but if I had to bet money, that's where I'd bet. After that, determine if investing in annuity will help you accomplish that goal. And always, always, always consult a qualified and licensed, and if it's a variable annuity, registered professional. Annuities are long-term vehicles. They have advantages and disadvantages that must be considered carefully before putting your money into. Ideally, they should be considered in the conjunction with your specific financial plan. That's the thing. I harp on this all the time, but I think it's so important, especially in this time of market turbulence. You need a plan almost always. When you're just beginning working from the time you graduate, the questions you need answered are that a financial plan will help you figure out is, am I saving enough for retirement, and is it in the right place? You need that answer as soon as possible. The sooner you get it, the less impact it'll have on your monthly budget. If you wait until you're in your 50s to start saving for retirement, you may not retire even close to the time and manner of your choosing. If you wait too long, you may end up retiring years later than you want, or instead of golden years, it may be tin or bronze years. Then when you're in that last 5 to 10 years before retirement, you're in what I call the glide path. You do a very detailed plan, because think of this as a ship that you're going to send out to sea, the USS Retirement. Well, during that plan, we figure out if your ship is seaworthy and if it's got all the supplies, food, medical supplies, etc., for you to make your once in a lifetime, no do-over vacation known as retirement. This plan will, once you get into retirement, the plan will help mitigate the more than 24 different things that can mess up your retirement, either mitigate or eliminate, depends on what they are. And lastly, if you planned and saved well enough, the plan helps answer the question, is the stuff that I've worked long and hard for going to go where I want it after I leave retirement? If you have questions, would like to schedule an appointment, or you can go to my website, herwirefinancial.com. You can use the schedule an appointment button, which is in the upper right hand corner of every page of my website. If you'd like to see this video and others, of course, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube. These will eventually make it over to my YouTube channel, and you can get there by pressing the button between the LinkedIn and Facebook buttons on the top of every single page. If you have friends, please invite them to follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. By the way, for appointments, I do Zoom, I do in person, and I do phone appointments. The schedule appointment button will facilitate that. And lastly, sometimes people just like picking up the phone and hearing my voice. 518-631-2569. That's 518-631-2569. Have a terrific day.